he's already watching behind some cars, with a pistol. And he shoots the dad. So Nash and the dad try to run off, get away. They're in shock, and Otis shoots the dad. He falls into this like mud puddle, which is pretty actually sad. And he goes up to Nash and says, drop all your shit or whatever, get on your knees. And instead of Nash trying to do something or take its last stand, at least he just kind of obeys Otis, and then that leads us to this kind of disturbing scene where Otis puts the barrel of the gun to Nash's head for what seems like, I think it's like 30 seconds, almost where you think the movie's frozen. Or like there's a skip, in the track, which I actually really like. That sounds really good. And he, after about 30 seconds, he pops him in the head. Yeah. And then where do we go from there?
That's when they have everybody downstairs in their bunny outfits, and that's where you see Otis has cut up the dad's face and used it as a mask.
Oh, that's right.
His torso, his entire torso and his face. That's
part of his arm.
Wow, he went Hannibal Lecter on that. Shout out to Hannibal.
So, so we it's like pre-sacrificing scene where they're kind of in the living room, and you see Otis coming down with the skin of her dad, of Denise's dad. Denise, Mary, and Jerry are hanging, and they're in bunny suits. Yeah. And he kind of taunts Denise because he knows that this is her dad's skin. He's like, give your daddy some sugar or whatever. And then he does that kind of one of the iconic lines from the film where he says, Otis says, the boogeyman is real and you found him. Or whatever. And that's always stuck with me through this. That's one of like the the mainstay lines I think of the entire film. And then we go through where they're taking the remaining of the couples to this kind of coffin. Yeah. To dump them off, to sacrifice them to whatever, right? And who is it? Jerry starts basically begging for their lives. Yeah. Just let us go. We won't say anything. Mm-hmm. And they're like, no. And Otis does this another cool line where he's like, get your shit in the box. And they start to put him in the coffin. And I think Mary runs away. And Otis isn't very affected by it. He's like, what, is she going to run all the way home? Mm-hmm. And Baby's like, let me get her or whatever. He was going to just shoot her in the back. And so Mary goes off on this kind of hunt. And they end up in a graveyard. And she stabs Mary to death. Yeah. And then does this little passage from Peter Cottontail or something. Some little like folklore.
Because she's riding the rabbit.
Shit or something. Yeah. Run, rabbit, run. And then we go back to they put so it's down to just Jerry and Denise. Mm-hmm. They put them in the coffin. They lower them down in this kind of fucked up well with mud. And they put her. They have this like recording device doing this like chant thing. Yeah, that's really and they light like all this wood pieces with crosses and all kinds of stuff. And then they kind of summon these zombie things from the mud.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. I was like, what the fuck was those? Those were like trippy.
Like, where did that go?
I totally forgot about that scene. I'm like, god damn.
I was like, oh, they're hallucinating, but then they started ripping apart the coffin. I was like, oh, that's real. Okay, they just live down there. Something weird.
Yeah.
I think it got spooked, right? When she like kind of stood up or something like that. They got spooked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because she sat up and then they're like, oh. It just kind of went back into the water.
And they grabbed Jerry.
Yeah, and
so we think
him into the.
Yeah, we're supposed to think that Jerry's dead.
Yeah.
And then she gets away. She runs into these two other homeless-looking guys, and they steal her fucking bunny suit. They leave her alone, and then she runs into basically the underground habitat of Dr. Satan and his fucking amputee people, or people he's been operating on. They're all fucked up, and then she sees that he has Jerry in the chair. And like all kinds of
him and shit.
Yeah, I really love that kind of how they depicted Dr. Satan with the robotic arms, and
that was pretty cool. That was
it's just like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's just so
he's still alive. Like this motherfucker's still alive.
Like steampunk demon.
Oh shit, steampunk demon. I like that.
Remind me.
They actually have Dr. Satan the mask. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then all of a sudden, so Dr. Satan kind of signals the dad of the, or I guess that's what, because when they going back to when they showed Tiny being burned, it was the same guy. Yeah. So I guess that's supposedly the dad, and he's like this fucked up, skinned mutant looking steampunk dude with an axe. And there's a big chase that happens.
Yeah.
With a really cool kind of Tarantino-esque shot towards the end. He chases her down, and you see the caverns of like hundreds and thousands of corpses lined up underneath the house, and that's why I guess it's called the House of Thousand Corpses. I really like that. That's why they incorporated kind of that scene. You see why it's called that, and. Basically, she wins the fight. She has him basically swing his big ass axe, and he collapses on top of him. Yeah. She gets away. She climbs up to supposed safety.
She's like, oh
yeah. She gets up. Home. It's morning time, and lo and behold, somebody picks her up, but it's actually Captain Spaulding.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, there's a bunch of people looking for your ass, girl. Just sit back, and I'll get you to your doctor. Don't worry. And he thinks everything's fine. She lays her head back. She closes her eyes, and then in the back seat, up comes Otis.
Yeah.
And then he starts to stab her, grab her, whatever, what have you. They kind of slow it down so you don't really see. And then you just see kind of her face and her back in the kind of the clutches of Dr. Satan.
Yeah.
And that's where they end it. It says the end with a question mark. And that's the end of the film.
Yeah.
Like I said, I really like the fact that like the way he was editing, it was so unique for the time.
Oh yeah,
it was so crazy. Like this movie was just like you didn't even know if they were hallucinating or what was going on.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they were going back and forth.
When he was doing those like negative shots.
Yes.
And then it would go into focus.
Yes.
I was like, oh, it's trippy. Like you don't see anything like that now.
No, not even now. Yeah. That's such a unique style that Rob brought to the forefront.
Yeah.
Which is good. Which I like it.
It changed all that stuff.
Yeah.
I agree. Do you guys want to do what we call swan facts real quick?
Swan facts.
Swan facts. Alright, so this film was actually shot in 2000 but didn't find a studio until 2003.
Yeah, 3 years.
It was 3 years later. Universal Pictures refused to release the film under the banner after viewing the film due to, or basically neglecting the film due to its subject matter, believing that it would get a rating of NC-17. So they thought it was too brutal. This was actually Dennis Fimple's last film as he was sick during the shooting. Hugo. The grandpa, which is why he's never mentioned in Devil's Rejects, I suppose. But yeah, he was suffering from heart disease. Even when he was shooting this, he was sick, and that's why a lot of the scenes, if you go back, you'll notice he's sitting down in a lot of them because he wasn't feeling well. Karen Black portrayed Mother Firefly in this film, but when she wanted a bigger salary to return for the film's sequel, Devil's Rejects, she was ultimately replaced by Leslie Easterbrook. So if you go back and you watch the second one, it's not the same lady to play the mother, yeah.
Don't get greedy.
She actually passed away too, Karen Black from the House of a Thousand Corpses. She passed away in 2013. Rob thought about actually playing Dr. Wolfenstein from in the beginning intro when they do that kind of like commercial.
Yeah.
But he thought that it was going to be too distracting, so he decided against it. But you can actually catch a glimpse of Rob as Wolfenstein's assistant in that intro. He plays like his little hunchback buddy.
Igor.
Yeah. If you see, he has totally has a beard, but it's just for a couple seconds. Several characters in the film are actually named after Marx Brothers characters. In 2010, Universal Studios Horror Nights used the film for a maze. I wish I could have checked that out.
That would be cool.
The film takes place, the majority of the film takes place on October 30th, 1977. In 2014, Rob was quoted saying he was aware of the film's growing cult following, but is actually not a fan of the film himself. All he can see is his endless mistakes.
It's good though. Learning experience.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of artists do that.
They're highly critical.
Oh yeah.
So, you know.
At least the good ones.
Yeah.
The film script underwent big changes during shooting. Originally, Grandpa Hugo was supposed to be revealed as Dr. Satan at the end of the film. But then, I guess that was in a rough cut. And in the rough cut, also, Dr. Satan was never a thing. Like, he was never called Dr. Satan. So that was something that was completely put in later. Towards the end of the film, when what's left of the couples are lowered underground in caskets, a cassette player repeats, "Bury me in the nameless grave." This is actually a line from Aleister Crowley, an Aleister Crowley poem called "The Poet" from 1920. It was just slowed down, and that sounds super creepy. The original cut of the film ended up with an NC-17 rating, but was later edited down to an R. But I guess that footage was never released. There is no unrated cut available as of yet. Hopefully they release that. This film is considered a Halloween horror film, while Devil's Rejects is considered grindhouse cinema. Lionsgate execs screened the film and loved it so much that they opted to release it under their banner.
Okay.
3 years later.
Yeah, 3 years later.
Well, Lionsgate had that. What's it called? 8 horror films. Or remember that?
Oh, the Fest or whatever.
Yeah, like 8 horror films that are not to be released or something that are
Fright Fest.
Fright Fest,
yeah.
kind of like that. So
they were always like on the. They're a genre company for sure.
Oh yeah.
They push the envelope with what's out there. I think because they did they produced Hostel and a bunch of other stuff. So
they released a lot of the Latino films too. They for sure have gone in there in their market and been like, there's a market here, you know, where the big studios don't want to go.
But they're scared. They're like, oh, let's do it. So my final one is. Probably you guys already know this, but Zombie is actually currently working on a follow-up to both House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects, and it's called 3 from Hell, which is due out mid-2019. He's editing it right now. He shot it before the tour with Marilyn Manson that just happened over the summer, and now he's back to editing. I actually went to the show in San Diego, and it was really cool. He was way better than Marilyn Manson, actually.
I haven't seen any of those guys in forever, so. But I mean, who survives though from Devil's Rejects?
That's the thing, is I don't know if they're brought back by some kind of macabre like witchcraft or something, but all the footage that they've shown so far is them in the courtroom. So I don't know if maybe that was a hallucination, that whole ending where they get shot up, or maybe they survive. Their wounds weren't fatal somehow. I don't know. But yeah, I agree. I don't know how he's gonna kind of...
There's a lot of like sacrificing. So maybe that'll be...
You never know. But it's called Tree from Hell. Hell doesn't want them, apparently.